Hello everyone. I've decided to do my final project on GeoGebra, which is something that I discovered about 2 years ago when I first started teaching. I explored it for a couple of minutes, saw that it was kind of similar to a program I was using called Geometry Sketchpad, but it wasn't quite as intuitive in my opinion at the time. And I was just beginning to start to understand Geometry Sketchpad, so I decided to move away from GeoGebra and never really explored it again. As we started this class, I decided that I wanted to explore it a little bit more. I took a look at it back when I was considering ideas, and then obviously doing our project earlier last week. I learned a lot about the program, and I'm even more convinced that I want this to be the premier program at my high school. But I'll get into that part of it a little bit later. For this video, there are 3 parts that I'm going to cover. First is the importance of this program. So why is GeoGebra necessary? Why should other teachers be using it? Especially in relation to the other programs that are out there. The second part will be what can you do with it? How do you use it? And then finally, it's the application part of it. Now that you understand a little bit of how to use it, what ways can you use this in the classroom to help benefit your students' education? So that's what I'm going to be getting into as we go through this video. So here we go. First is the importance and benefits. And as a teacher, I think we would all agree that our goal is to have happy students that are working on every project that we give them, every assignment, everything that we ask them to do. We would love for them to be happy and enthusiastic about it. But I think I'd be safe in saying that that doesn't always happen. Students aren't always enthusiastic about our homework. They're not always enthusiastic about taking tests and quizzes and other things like that. They're not even always enthusiastic about the projects we give them, even if they can be fun. But at least with this program, giving them something like this, we give them the chance of having some fun and learning something at the same time. And that gets into this here. I think I don't need to convince anybody that inquiry-based learning is good, that students benefit from it, that there is a lot that can be done with that can help students grow and learn a lot more. So hopefully I don't need to convince anybody of that, but in case I need to, I have there some ways to do it, and then some 2 different research articles about how inquiry-based education works. And I just looked these up on our library's website and found these and many more. And these were the 3 that I went with. I could have provided 10 more if I needed to. So hopefully, once again, I don't need to convince anybody, but if I need to, there is your backup that at least on some degree, doing some inquiry-based techniques, projects, teaching, that's going to benefit your students. So if nothing else, doing this, it raises enthusiasm, gets kids excited about what's going on, and it's different. Especially if you do a lot of lecture teaching, which I'll admit I'm guilty of as well. If you do things like this, different projects, you help to break up the monotony of the day-to-day to give your students something different to work on. So using something like GeoGebra is a chance for your students to do something else with their education, and hopefully it's something that they can kind of get into and enjoy doing. So the other part of this is why GeoGebra over the other options, right? You have Desmos, which is very popular. It's one that the Algebra 2 teachers at my high school use. Geometry Sketchpad I've been using for geometry exploration. And my argument would be that I think, especially after this past week, I'm convinced that GeoGebra is the best of both of those programs. The things that we've been doing with them, the different projects that we attempted to do in those, we can do those in GeoGebra. and we only need one program to do it. It's free, so it's a benefit over Geometry Sketchpad. And while not all of the features are as nice or clear or as intuitive as maybe the other two programs are individually, it's a one-stop shop program that if you teach it to your students as freshmen and continue to use it throughout their education and their different classes, they will continue to get better at it and become more familiar with it, and you'll have to do less reteaching about how to use a new program that will essentially accomplish the same thing. And let me just show you what I'm getting at here. So if I go back to this, here is GeoGebra, and let me just scoot that up so you can see some of the things here. And as you can see, we have these different tools for creating different things in geometry. We have circles. You can use lines here to create triangles and other shapes like that. Here we have points. Okay, so pretty common stuff. And this is what Sketchpad looks like. And because it costs money, I couldn't get the actual real thing, but here's what it looks like, and I don't want to hear that person's voice. So as you can see on the side here, we have a place to create a point, we have a place to create a circle, and a lot of the similar things. And as you can see there, I can do all of these things that he is doing right now in Geometry Sketchpad, that he's doing in Geometry Sketchpad in GeoGebra if I wanted to. So here I'll just for that sake, there's that, and then he did that, and then he started putting some points in the middle, and that's where we stopped the video. Okay, so I can do all of those same things in here. Now the other program is going to be Desmos. So we did this project earlier, which I'll come back to this later on when I talk about some of the application. But we can do all these different graphing things on the side. I did all of these different graphs. Well, I can do this in GeoGebra and get the exact same thing. Over here, I can input an equation, x squared, and I can graph that, and I can set limits to it. I can graph all different kinds of equations. This does all of the same things. So my argument once again would be, why use multiple programs when one of them can do all of it? That just doesn't make any sense to use multiple programs when one program can do all of it. And so if you're having students do different activities, do different applications already, why not switch them over to one thing so that you aren't trying to use multiple programs, having to reteach different ideas? And once again, I will admit, I thought Desmos was very easy to use. And once I kind of got going, I thought it was very nice. And in my opinion, GeoGebra is a little more complicated, but it's learnable. It's not too complicated. And once again, Geometry Sketchpad is very smooth. It's very easy to use. I've never had any issues with it. But once again, GeoGebra, while not being quite as smooth, in my opinion, is still really, really good and does all of the same things. So the reason why GeoGebra is important and why it will benefit our students, to recap, it's inquiry-based learning. Students are working, practicing different things, trying to understand what this actually is that we're talking about. When we say parabola, what does that mean? And when we talk about lines and rays and everything else, what does that actually mean? We can talk about conceptually, but do students really understand it? And then beyond that, GeoGebra is free. Anybody can access it. It has everything you could ever want and more, which I'll show you once again later when we actually get into how to use it and what it's used for. Once again, that is why GeoGebra is important.